Experts and economists worldwide are keeping a watchful eye on Nigeria's state of economy following recent government reforms and the impact of these reforms on the economy. According to them, the government must continue to respond to ever-evolving challenges of the economy, given its recent fiscal policy adjustments and interventions in various sectors of the economy. Let's get talking this Monday afternoon, and I'm starting the week with the Director General of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Sir Wale Smart Oyerinde. Thank you so much. It's good to start the week with you on Business Nigeria.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, viewers.
Great. Let me start with your submission lately, talking about coordination towards the implementation of policies being instituted by this government. Now, can you tell us what is really expected with regards to coordination from all sides?
Thank you once again. You know, taking a cue from what happened the last administration, where obviously, you know, without doubt, there was a big gap, you know, a disjointed kind of coordination between the fiscal and monetary policy authorities. And they got to a point where the principal personnel in those space, you know, are actually contradicting themselves in public, which doesn't inspire confidence in the organized private sector, one, also doesn't inspire confidence on investors. And the expectation with this administration is that there will be more deepened collaboration or coordination. Now we have a Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And though we've seen a bit of that coordination now, but I think it has to be deepened, not only between the fiscal and monetary policy authorities, but also with some other ministries and agencies whose action or activities will be impacted by the need for coordination. Now, let me give you an example.
Okay. You
know, recently there was the removal of the restriction on forex for about 43 items. Now, when the last administration, when that was done, was basically in response to monetary policy issues.
Yes.
That, okay, forex is scarce, then let's restrict some items from accessing forex from the official market. Now, it's not as if those products were off totally. They weren't off the market. Those importers have the opportunity of actually importing those products or sourcing forex from wherever they want to source. So that puts a lot of pressure even on the forex market, because you are restricted from sourcing forex from the official market, then it doesn't stop you from going somewhere to source forex at whatever cost. So continue to put pressure on the main market, on the official market. Now, it was in response to monetary policy issues, but there are fiscal issues that we did not address, or that the monetary policy authority did not take into cognizance in doing that. Now, there are businesses that have actually taken the plunge, investing in backward integration.
Allow me to interject you, DJ, I'm so sorry. We need to take a break and we'll come back and continue this discussion. Let's take this break and we'll be right back in a minute. All right, thank you for staying with us. I still have Mr. Adewale Smart here with me, Oyerinde, talking about the economy. Yeah, you're making a point with regards to, I think, the 43 items before we went to that break.
Absolutely. So the issue is on coordination is that we don't have to look solely at the monetary policy implication of certain issues. We also have to look at the fiscal policy implication of those issues. Yes. And while you take a look at both issues, then you still have to look at some other policies, some other minor coordinating policies that will also help you to achieve the maximum in those policies. I mentioned why we address the issue of dollar scarcity through the monetary policy issues of restricting forex on those items, and we didn't consider then the fiscal issues of there are businesses that are actually operating, and because of that policy, they've gone ahead to invest massively on backward integration. Now, we've removed the restriction that everybody can go source forex in an open market, creating a level playing field for importers to source forex. But what happened to those that have invested in backward integration? And when you hear a lot of people saying this is the wrong time for government to remove that restriction, it's basically flowing from that concern that, look, a lot of people have invested on backward integration. Now, what happens to those that have invested in backward integration? Knowing that the cost of production averagely overseas is even less than the cost of production here.
So it's easier for them to bring in.
It's easy for you to bring, for majority of products, because of the level of our infrastructure, the many challenges that manufacturers and businesses currently face. So it's quite easy for you to import in some instances than to produce and produce locally. So those are the dynamics that government will have to look at, and those are the reasons, one of the reasons why coordination is very important between the fiscal, the monetary policies, then other quasi-agencies and ministries whose activities will be impacted by those policies. Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Labor will also be impacted, because if our jobs are being shipped out, then you have challenge with unemployment in your hands. So all those ministries, agencies have to also be part of that coordination, that this is what we are going to do. Then what is the impact on you? What is the impact on you? What is the impact on your operations? Then we all make suggestions. I mean, those ministries make suggestions of, okay, this is how we can mitigate this. This is how we can mitigate this. For every policy, there will always be winners. There will always be losers. But the idea is to significantly, depending on the goal you are trying to achieve on the long run, to reduce the losers significantly so that the economy can benefit.
Indeed. I'm now looking at these current issues and I'm stuck somewhere. And what's the hope for job creation? And what role really would the private sector play?
You know, we've said severally that for every 10 jobs, you know, the private sector creates about 8 or 9. And that's the global consensus. So for you to deal with the issue of unemployment, then you have to focus on the real sector, the private sector that can actually generate employment for you. And to address it, make the private sector much more attractive to operate in, make the environment much more hospitable to operate in. If you do that, you know, you significantly address the issue of unemployment, you significantly address the issue of revenue for government, because for every person that has a job, he probably will pay his payee. For every business that expands and continues to be competitive, government will make more corporate tax. For every youth that is gainfully employed, you have reduced the propensity for insecurity. So it has a whole value chain. And one of the things we've done and we are still doing, and one of the things we have also urged government to give more attention to, is the issue of technical and vocational training. You know, where we have a thriving private-public partnership with Industrial Training Fund that have churned out millions and millions and millions of Nigerian youths, you know, gainfully employed, going through the route of technical and vocational training. So beyond the white-collar jobs, I think another area where we can deepen employment is the route of technical and vocational training. Not less ICT, which is also a massive job creation platform for Nigerian youth.
The FG has agreed on a wage increase now, at least for some time. There will be payment even for businesses, I think. And there's also the conditional cash transfer that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is running. What is the impact, or what impact do you see this leaving as we move on in the year?
You know, for the conditional wage transfer, good initiative. 25,000 for 15 million households. Yeah. That is quite huge. Is the 25,000, is it sufficient? That is a different conversation. But the fact is that 25,000 per household for 15 million, you know, it can do a lot to stabilize the economy. Because the 15 million household will probably not eat the 25,000. They probably will buy goods, they probably will pay for services, which also feeds back into the economy. It makes the wheel of production running. And for as long as the wheel of production is running, you are keeping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons in employment. As you are keeping 1 or 2, 4, 5 persons in employment, they also are not going to, the salary is not edible. So they still have to buy things in the household. So you keep the wheel of production going. So as long as that process continues, you keep the wheel of production going. That's our perspective to it. Now, the issue of the wage increase, you know, government have said for 6 months.
Yes.
We want to believe the assumption will be that in 6 months, probably the refineries will be working, because the whole issue, the whole spike in cost of living actually started with the removal of the fuel subsidy. Yes. I think every other thing responded to the removal of fuel subsidy. So hopefully, if the refineries come on board, then our propensity to import fuel will drop. We'll be able to produce what we are going to consume, which will progressively, hopefully, progressively reduce the cost of fuel. One of the challenges is that whatever goes up in this part of the world, in context of price, sometimes
rarely comes down.
They rarely come down. So it's for government to play its part and also play the kind of institute some kind of regulation that it can put in place for oil being the prime product that all Nigeria uses. So progressively, the price of oil of PMS will come down, which might also affect all the issues of all the spikes that we've witnessed. At a private sector level, government, as we say, can borrow itself blind. You can go to IMF and borrow. You can get grants. The dynamics for the private sector is different. A private sector business that is running on credit. So even when there are downtimes, the interest for those loans don't go on downtimes. You still have to pay. So the private sector are currently looking at how they can support employees. That's for those that are not supporting yet. If you remember, during the president's broadcast on August 3rd, he specifically commended the private sector for the role they have played in supporting their employees. And that has been done consistently by the private sector. But for those that have not done any, true to their circumstances, I think everybody is looking back, what can we do within the context of supporting employees? Because everybody is impacted. So what can we do within the context of our limitation so that the business doesn't go under? I must confess, the private sector is also impacted significantly with the removal of fuel subsidies. Energy costs has gone up, logistics costs have gone up, operating costs have gone up. So it will be double jeopardy for organized businesses, for any institution or anybody to put it under a lot of pressure, because it will be counterproductive.
I must agree with you with regards to that. Now, let me now ask you back to the FX issue again, because I've thought about that, the lifting of restriction on those 43 items and what it means for our manufacturing industry. But let me ask you that, what are the two main things you think we can do to get out of this Forex challenge and stabilize the Naira? I'm going to also be talking about this with Mr. Robert, because it's a burning issue.
The long-term challenge, the long-term solution is this. And for every economy, trying to break it down to economics 101, it's the law of demand and supply will always take its course.
Yes.
If demand is higher than supply, the price, whether of dollars, whether of a tin of milk, whether of a tin of rice, the price will go up. If the supply is more than the demand, then inversely, the price will progressively come down. I think it's probably that's what is happening to the dollars. We are not making enough revenue, dollar revenue. The inflow for dollar is not meeting up to the demand for it.
Yes.
So it's putting pressure on the Naira, which is making the prices of Naira to dip the way it's going. And progressively over a long time, the government has been defending the Naira with borrow from this to defend the Naira, borrow from this to defend the Naira. So we are not really having the true picture of the value of the Naira because it's consistently been defended. Now what this government have done is to say, look, we are no more defending. Let the Naira find its value. Let it find its true value, which has changed the dynamics for organized businesses and for most informal sector operators. You had the budget of probably to buy your energy costs in January, you are making budget for it. And your import costs, you have made a budget for it. Down the line, dollar has spiked to 1,000 and something Naira. And those are factors you never consider that, look, this will happen. So they create different dynamics for your operation. So what can we do? First is to ramp up our revenue from dollars. We've paid lip service to diversification of our dollar revenue streams. We have to focus on that. Fiscal discipline is one of the things that this government must do. The president must take the bull by the horn. He showed political will by announcing the issue of the first subsidy. It was something that successive governments have found difficult to do, but the president did that. Now, what we can do more is to ensure fiscal discipline, not only in the executives, but also in the judiciary and also in the legislative arms. When it was touted that the National Assembly are going to buy about 300 cars for members of the House, while that might be a concern to many persons, but another perspective to use, look, are those cars being bought by, are they being sold, or are they being bought from the local car manufacturers? If you plug that 150 million into 300 places, you plug it back into the economy, it will do a lot for the automobile industry, rather than if you decide to import those 300 cars, you are putting more pressure on the Naira, which will also take us back to those issues. Now, the issue of nurturing non-oil exports, we don't have option. If you want to get out of this quagmire, we must. It's not a matter of we should. We must produce what we consume in this country, because that is what will reduce the pressure on the Naira. So they are not rocket science, but I said, as the president has taken the bull by the horn with removal of first subsidy, I think he should also face frontally all these issues that we currently have. They are not things that cannot be done. They are things with strong political will we can do. Fix the refineries, then you'll have reduced the pressure on the dollar, pressure on the Naira for importation, support the manufacturing industry, and through policies, let us start consuming what we produce. We must produce what we consume. If you don't do that, we'll keep importing and we'll keep putting pressure on the Naira. And then fiscal discipline is quite important.
It's a good way to leave it. I must thank you so much. Thank you for starting the week with us on the show. Director General, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Mr. Adewale Smado Yerinde. It's good to have you. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for everyone starting off with us.